Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Nigerian Now on Echo Television, where we look at various sectors in the country and looking at what is happening currently there, bring it to the table, discuss it, and of course, Facebook and talking about YouTube as well are there, so you can do well to drop in your own comment, your views on some of the issue we will be discussing this afternoon. I'm Sada Elisha Dasham, and I'll bring the program with Rachel Tanzi. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Good afternoon, Sarah.
All right, looking at the matters for today, we would love to look at the health sector as well as our education sector, looking at what is happening there. As we are saying that yesterday, we saw a sign was saying that as of today, they will be going on a strike pending when the government will listen to their plight, which they have been, talking to the government about it since June 20th. They dropped a letter telling the government that in the next 2 weeks they will be going on a strike, and we're seeing that already as it is presently. ASU are also warming up for another strike, and then as well we're looking at the health sector where we're seeing that in Oyo State the nurses and the midwives have been on strike since May, and they are still maintaining that they will maintain that strike until the government listens to them. Now let's start from the health sector. I mean, you and I have tried as much as we can, Rachel, to draw the attention of the government to these sectors. There are sectors we know that we are not to play with for whatsoever reason. Of course, we might want to look at the sectors and say that how much revenue is the government realizing from it? But we know that one thing about those particular sectors is the fact that if we give it ample time, if we give it all the needed attention that it requires, such as financially and every other thing, we'll say that this is a sector that can maintain and stand on its own and generate revenue as the days goes by. Now we're seeing that in Oyo State, the nurses and the midwives have been on strike since May 21st. And they said they are not shifting ground until the governor of Oyo State will listen to them. Of course, for every strike, we know that it's either there were certain demands that you've brought to the government and the government is refusing to pay attention. And as it is presently, we're seeing that patients are stranded because, of course, if you go to the hospital, there are no nurses to attend to you. And we cannot overemphasize the importance of our nurses as well as our midwives. So you can imagine a woman on labor not having a midwife stand by, what that will actually. So this, even though I know it's just looking at Oyo State presently, but Rachel, we are going to look at the entire health sector. We know that this is the sector that the government really, really needs to give attention. I really do not know what is happening. I wonder why we are having our government playing with the health sector. But I remember, in fact, this morning while we were reviewing some of the papers, we saw what is happening when it comes to even our pharmaceutical companies. The fact that the government needs to come in, and we saw where even I think 2 weeks back, we're seeing where a report came in to say that even some drugs are not even available in the hospital and all of that. And we cannot rule it out. That it's still part of the fact that the government needs to wake up to what they need to do. And so looking at what is happening in Oyo State, I wonder why it's taking the government of that state this long. We are in July from May, so almost getting to 2 months ever since these health workers have been on strike. And I'm hoping that the government of that state will wake up, not just in Oyo State, but entirely in the country. We really, really need to pay attention to the health sector.
So even with the negligence from the government towards the health sector, the fact remains that it still generates revenue for them. A matter of fact, a lot of revenues, because the difference with the federal government or the government-owned institutions and facilities is that it's subsidized, but it's not free. If you get admitted in a government hospital, you pay for the beds, you pay for your treatment. The difference is that if in a private hospital per night is 20,000, you get the same service for 5,000 naira, but we still pay. You pay for your medications, you buy all of those things from the government. You pay to keep your loved one in a mortuary or a morgue. These are all the things that we pay for. Therefore, the government still generates revenue from the health sector, even if it's not much. That sector is still revenue generating. And then imagine if more could be done about it and sank into that sector, so that instead of all those medical tourism that we keep talking about, we now have them here because we have that standard. So the money given elsewhere is being given here. And I believe that this is the cry of every health worker, now be it the midwives in Oyo State, be it the nurses and the Oyo State, is that they are sitting down and are seeing the potential of what a health sector can do revenue-wise for the government and revenue-wise for themselves as the workers. They know how much, if the government was to pay attention to these hospitals, bring these services, bring that services, it means the hospital will be able to generate revenue, remit to the government, upgrade their bonuses and their advances aside from the pay they will be getting from the government, because they are all under the government payroll and under the government payroll. So imagine, Sele, if you are in that position, seeing the potential and the reason. And when we look at every association, Sele, going on a strike, is always payment related. Is always payment related. We will see how ASU and the rest are complaining about being under the IPIC and how they are saying, you know what, it's not serving the right. We could do this our own way better, but the government is insisting and saying you have to stay under certain things, but that is not yielding them anything. It's the same thing for these nurses, because they have not been paid certain salaries and areas since 2021. And they are saying enough is enough, because we need you to listen to us. And therefore, they are on a strike, and then the government haven't said much about it. And they are where they are now. So why do we have to? Because if these hospitals are running to their full function, apart from their basic salaries, because the hospital is able to do something, there will be allowances left, right, center, bonus, upgrade here and there, that will be able to, when you accumulate it at the end of the day, what they get to walk home with. I don't think any health practitioner, be it a nurse, doctor, will want to go on a strike, because in the end, they are fully compensated for their services and for their work, but reverse is the case. So I just hope that the Oyo State government wakes up and do the needful. It's not just about paying them, because yes, the government can decide to say, okay, you know what, let's pay. But will that solve the problem? With 2024, and there are many more years ahead. Will that solve the problem? I don't think it will. So let the real groundwork be done. That is the root of the problem be solved. That is our hospitals fully functional. Bringing in more services means more clients. And by clients, I mean patients. And when they come and they get the quality of their services, it means they pay, they recommend, people come back, because we can't say there won't be sick people. I can be healthy today, I might be on my way to the hospital tomorrow, but when I go to the hospital, will there be services available for me? This is what I believe the hospital needs, and how the government should work towards improving our health sector. Make it in such a way that everything don't come out from your own pocket, since you're obviously struggling to pay the nurses looking at Oyo now. But then when you build a structure for the health sector that is fully functional, I believe certain things will also be taken care of by itself due to the revenues that the hospital will be able to generate.
Rachel, if it was only about the payment, maybe we would have said, okay, that can easily be handled. But what can the government do about we are having hospitals that are short-staffed?
Sure.
Because this is one of the needs the nurses are talking about, that there should be more recruitment of nurses and midwives. So Rachel, imagine you go to a hospital, and then as a day, it's possible that for a day you can have more than 20 women on labor, and then we don't have
enough
able hands to actually help those women. What will happen to that? Is to say that we're going to have more casualties, more women will die during childbirth. Why? Because a particular number of midwives were not on standby. We've had where people so when you go to the hospital, the nurses are harsh and why are the nurses harsh?
They are frustrated also.
They are frustrated because we've seen, even I think we have reviewed a time whereby we're seeing that the number of nurses that are being negligent during their work. You see that instead of giving you paracetamol, you end up maybe being given Amozid or something different. And then at the end of the day, we see people who have come down with various side effects. Why? Because they were given wrong diagnosis coming from either our nurses or even our doctors. So this, we can't even rule out the issue of even this JAPA, because we spoke about the fact there's not only our doctors that are leaving, our nurses are leaving, our midwives, almost every profession is actually leaving the country. So I'm hoping that, just like we said, we might be looking at Oyo State today, but we never can tell which state is going to spring up with another strike tomorrow. So we hope that each time we bring such things to the table, is for the government to be aware that this is the plight of the health workers, and we are hoping that they will pay attention. Let us have more recruitment. Let us have all the basic thing that is needed to be on ground, so that as a medical practitioner, you will enjoy your job while doing it. You signed up for it, so you should have everything that is needed. Now, today happens to be that we're just talking about strike everywhere. We're seeing that the same way. We're seeing that NASU and SANU are actually starting to strike with them. We're seeing where the government officials are saying they want to discuss with them so that they can stop the strike. But I have a problem, Rachel, the fact that we see where these unions will come out with letters 1 month, 2 weeks ahead of time, and the government will not blink an eye until finally the D-Day will see that, okay, this body is now on strike, and then the government is trying to do a rush work to see that they stop them from going on. And I keep asking this question, Rachel, when is the government going to ever get it right? Do you know what it means, Rachel, that when you are supposed to graduate, for example, this year, and then because of certain things, you end up spending another year or two? Some of the students grow up with resentment in their heart, and eventually you want to get back on even the government. We cannot rule out the fact that because the government have failed to pay attention to the educational sector, we're having more number of hoodlums talks out there. Because some of them have gotten tired and frustrated with the way the educational system seems to be having. It's more like today it's like this, tomorrow it's like this. I really can't predict what is going to happen. I mean, yesterday I wanted doing something in one of the federal universities, and then one of the staff was telling me that they were on a meeting and this meeting is not going to end. And then it now occurred to me, oh, this meeting might be finally we are going on strike tomorrow. And boom, we're seeing that they are already on strike. So I just wonder, if imagine a school without a senior university lecturers or non-academic staff. So that is to tell you, Rachel, starting from the gate man up to the people in that meeting, there will be nobody to attend to you. And I wonder why we are having the government playing with them. We saw when NAS were coming out and we're pleading with the non-academic staff not to go on strike, because we know what this will mean, because new registration is supposed to start, because the new session is meant to start by September for some of these tertiary institutions. And then we'll see that, of course, there will be no registration. So what that implies is that for those who are supposed to get admission, they will have to shift it. And these are some of the things that are happening. I wonder why our government would rather opt for correcting things rather than preventing it from happening. Because we've seen this thing over and over and over. And Rachel, you'll be expecting that by now our government should learn a lesson. But it seems that we are not, or let me exempt myself, the government is not learning anything from issues like this.
Sela, when you make the mention of why does the government have to wait till we have this union going on strike, I smile, because for them it's a game. Is I dare you, is let's wait and see, is you can't. It's more of I dare you to go on the strike, let's wait and see. Because just as you said, 1 month, 2 weeks ago, you were giving a letter. You didn't do anything. It's 5 weeks to the date. You didn't do anything. It's 2 weeks. It's 1 week. It's a day too. And until that day, until this union eventually decides to go on a strike, you are calling for talks or negotiation. It's intentional. It's a tactics from the federal government. Let's wait and see. Are they really, do they mean business? Or are they going to call off? Because we've seen time when the NLC said, well, we're going to strike, and they didn't end up going. We've also seen time where these same unions, be it ASU, be it any other union that wants to go on a strike, says so, and then decides to postpone it for certain reasons, just giving the government more grace. So the government keeps coming with a mindset expecting that this time around maybe another long rope will be drawn to give them more time. But this time around, this union means business, and therefore they are not stopping the strike. And now the government is stepping in quickly. It's just a game seller for the government. And I believe they know exactly what they're doing. Both the unions, both the government know exactly what they're doing. And then, just as you said, when will we ever get to the point where the federal government stop playing with these unions? You allow them to exist for a reason, to put you to check, and they are doing a good job at it. So far, so good, because when you do not comply, they go on a strike, and you comply. Sometimes you don't, but out of the mercy of their heart, they come back, and all of that is because I believe that we are not putting in the necessary step. The government precisely are not putting in the necessary step for our universities, concerning funding, concerning revenue generation, concerning meeting the needs, right, of what these universities are in need of, and how you'll be able to put it in a way that these universities are not supposed to struggle the way they want to, the way they are supposed to struggle. As far as I'm concerned, that we need to upgrade, Sele, our educational system, even the structure of tertiary university. We don't have to have everybody going to the University of Jos, for example, getting access to the education that they need. There need to be a breakout from the state level. There need to be a breakout from the federal government. There need to be more institutions targeted at a specific kind of studies. There need to be colleges targeted at a specific kind of studies for what people want to do, and the government should fund them in a way that they decongest the federal universities, in a way that it's built in a way that these other institutions or colleges and all of that will be able to attract funding, investors, be it locally or internationally. And then secondly, we also give students the room to be able to have different kinds of learning, and then the federal university will be able to thrive on certain. There's so much work, Sele, until that is being done, right? As long as the federal universities are congested, in my opinion, there won't be enough facilities, because when you look at the reasons why ASU and the rest go on strike, apart from the demand for their income, there's also demand for facilities, infrastructures, the things that need to be put in school. That's why sometimes they will tell the student, well, we're also doing this for you. Yes, agreed, because they are also not being able to function as staff or lecturers in the capacity that they are supposed to. And we are having half-baked students in very sensitive fields because our universities are not functioning the way they are supposed to. And we keep seeing frustration left, right, center. The same way you talked about seeing the frustration of nurses on their patients is the same way we are seeing the frustration of lecturers even on students, and certain things that should not be in our university and all of that. The truth is, Sele, education is very expensive, right? I know that former President Obasanjo says things like this. He says, if you think that education is expensive, try poverty.
Or you try illiteracy.
Try illiteracy, rather. Try illiteracy. You will see that, you know what, whatever it takes, will go to school. Now, why I'm coming from that is that if there's this breaking of varsity, schools might become more expensive. But in the end, education is important. And either way, we will find ourselves around it. We're now starting having the student loan scheme. It means it will give room for grants. It will give room for other investors. There should be different things that we put in place for people to be able to access education at whatsoever level, most especially the tertiary education. For me, there's so much work that if only the government is willing to do it, I don't think we will have strike issues. And then why would you pay one union out of the 4 that went on the strike and leave the remaining 3? And this is one of the core reasons why they are out there, because you know what? We didn't just go to strike. You can't single us out and favor us. What about the remaining 3 academic unions that went on the strike, we
as
all,
well.
what is the government trying to
Doing
do?
about that.
Exactly, what is the message and what is the meaning of what they are trying to do? So let the government wake up truly and do right by Nigerians on every level. There's so much work, and it shows by the decisions that our leaders take. And I'm yet to really see decisions that shows we might grow. We are still in the same place. That is why we will still have politician leaders coming on the paper and talking more of the problems than the solution. Because in my opinion, they do not have the way forward. They know the way forward, but they do not want to implement it because it will not tally with their selfish gains, in my opinion. And they are yet to make sacrifices. They are not willing to make sacrifices or to be selfless, yet we are yet to get to that place with our leaders.
Richard, and the next question would be more like, if our leaders are not willing to be selfless, so why did you choose to be a leader? Do you even know what it means to be a leader in the first place? I remember during the election, we kept hammering on the fact that, you know what, if you're not willing to be a servant, you have no business running any public office, because being as a public figure, you need to be a servant because you're there to serve the people. So I keep wondering, Rachel, these are leaders who enjoyed the educational system when it was balanced. These were leaders who had all that it takes. In fact, some of them study on barely little or nothing they spent. So why now frustrating the entire system when it is now the turn of other people? Is it because your words are not studied in this university? And no wonder I keep saying, if I have my way, Rachel, they should impose that bill in the house, that as far as a public officer, Rachel, your child must school in Nigeria. And when I mean school in Nigeria, public university, no private university. Maybe when we do that, we'll see that our leaders will be serious about what is happening in our public universities, because I mean, that is just what it is. And we remember during the strike that they went to, the government of Buhari decided to set up another union and say, you know what, to hell with us, to hell with every other. And that is really not right. We hope that, just like you said, you allow these unions to exist. So please, can you listen to their plight and do something? I saw some of the placards that were saying, if you're able to afford to buy a form for election, why can't you? Why can't you actually fund education? This is we remember how much presidential form was, Rachel, 100 million,
100 million,
and all
that's
of that.
a lot.
So we are looking forward to a time where our system will actually fix itself eventually, because our government are willing to do the work. Maybe just like you said, if they are sleeping, maybe we should sprinkle some water on them to wake up, Rachel.
We should, yes.
Well, thank you so much for doing this with
You're
me.
welcome, Celia.
And also thank you to our viewers and every other person who made this program a success. We look forward again to the news tomorrow. Please do have a wonderful day ahead.